So in our quest to get up Tape Data Exerciser Mountain, we decided to go on a little side quest, specifically not knowing what's wrong with the machine and why it's failing this test. It could be the tape drive, it could be something to do with the tape controller, it could be accumulator issues, it could be computation issues for that pre-computed checksum. And so we thought, hey, you know, we have these two tape drives up here. Why don't we try to run the test with the other tape drive and see if we continue to have the problem. That way we might be able to isolate the flaw or the bug that we're having to one tape unit rather than the tape controller, which the units share, or the other computation hardware. So we're going to do a little side quest here again where we try to get the bottom tape drive going, which is something that hasn't quite worked right since we got here. So we're going to start working on that, and then we'll come back to the tape data test in a little bit. So Dawson, tell us what you're doing.
I am adjusting the torque of the tape drive motors.
We now have a ceramic screwdriver for this purpose.
Trying to make them match.
So the way that they keep tension is the motors pull in the opposite direction.
That feels closer now.
And there's 4 pots in there, right?
Yep, so there are 2 cards. One controls the torque for the left hub, and the other one controls the torque for the right hub. And there's a torque for forward motion and then a back torque. And the back torque is what keeps the tape taut on the read and write head while it's moving the other direction. So if you have too loose of a back torque, then your tape will slap and it will bunch up. So it has to be just right, and it can't be too tight because then it's really pulling that tape very taut.
Sure. And earlier today we were having an issue where the bottom unit, if it was using tape ID 1, remote wasn't enabling correctly, but it seems like that's not happening now.
Yeah. Seems like it's working now, except that it shouldn't do that.
But that's torque, right?
Yeah, that's the torque. But like, this one feels much less taut than what this was before it cut off.
Yeah, so there's definitely kind of, not that you want to do this often, but if I let go of this, you see it kind of slaps back.
But compare that torque to what this is.
Well, that's a lot tighter.
Yeah, and if I turn this any more, it just cuts out.
Bad pot, maybe?
That's very possible.
Alright, so what's your plan?
I'm just going to pull out the card and look at that pot and see if it's dirty or if there's... Oh, that's right. It has these connections on it.
Are they obvious, or do we need to take some notes?
Red goes on top.
Okay.
Yellow goes on bottom.
Alright. Oh, and it's just a regular old flip chip.
Mm-hmm. So, that's a 50K trim pot.
Yep.
And there's really nothing special about... I mean, it looks perfectly fine to me.
There's always the old swap the cards from the other unit routine and see if now the problem migrates to the other unit.
Yeah, I hesitate to do that because the torques are set for each hub.
Sure.
So, I mean, worst case scenario, they still sell 50K trim pots.
Yep.
And I'm sure they sell them in that form factor, so
Yep.
I might even have one.
This is a G850 flip chip. I'll set this down on a non-conductive surface.
Trim pots.
Here's Dawson looking for computer parts.
That is 50K, but a much smaller form factor.
Yes. Now this would be a situation in my like dream world. We would have spare flip chips for every or most things in this machine. So then we could, you know, experiment with replacing
Yeah,
the trim pot.
that would be nice.
So the question is to replace or not to replace.
That
Whether
would
you
be,
really could even.
It'd be tricky. Be
Yeah.
very tricky. Because then you'd have this tiny little trim pot sitting further down.
Right.
I mean, it'd be doable. And worst case scenario, we just have to put the old trim pot back on.
Are you concerned that the tension as it is just too tight? It's going to be hard on the tapes, or what's the
Well,
concern?
I guess my concern, A, yeah, the tension seemed a little too tight, and then B, the fact that this trim pot just cuts out the torque as soon as it hits a certain spot makes me think that this pot is not working like it should.
Sure.
Now, it's also possible that it is dirty or greasy, because there are some open holes on this. And it's just a big mechanical slider inside of there, so
Yeah.
there could be some gum.
Sure.
So we could spray some deoxit in there and just move it around, see what it does.
Sure. That seems like a good first step. All right. Well, should we try that?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan.
All right. So Dawson sprayed some deoxit in there, and now we're wiggling it back and forth as recommended by the internet.
Okay. That moves much more freely now. Trying to keep them roughly where they were.
Sure.
So I'm gonna wipe this off.
Okay, we're back, and we've got the card back in post cleaning. And Dawson, what can you report?
Well, cleaning it fixed it.
Awesome.
It took a few extra turns back and forth in there to get it to fully work in, but it seems that it's not cutting out anymore, at least.
Awesome. So it's not cutting out, and you're able to. Did you find you could turn the tension down a little?
Yeah, I can turn that down a bit.
Oh yeah, that feels good.
So it's still slapping a little bit. That was not okay.
Yeah.
I'm using our dead pad tape.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, once again, cleaning for the win. Now the tape torque is really quite good. It's not really slapping. It's a little slappier than the other tape drive, but then again, this one has a little slap too. So this on our board of problems, number one has been tape torque for about 2 years, and oh, how about that? So looks like it's time to find the, hey, Chandler. Oh, Chandler is Chandler's on his headphones, hard at work. Hi. Here you go. Do the honors.
Yeah, this is gonna just take the whole board off, though, isn't it?
Well, you could just spray a little on the eraser or something, or on a Kim wipe. Hooray! Feels good.
Yay!
Awesome.